Hare Krishna. So say welcomes again. Now we're being recorded. Welcome. Just coming in now is Nitai Mata. Here comes Mother Chandravali. They're racing in the door, running up the stairs, barging in through the door and getting a seat. Hare Krishna. Welcome, Mother Chandravali. Welcome, Nitai Mata. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, I don't have to share my screen here, do I? No. So, let's continue by beginning by offering praise to Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya.
Mother Chandravali, we are not talking about that.
You can ask him. I did say to you, can ask him.
Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swanti Namane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasesha Sunya Fahadi Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. I will make this announcement as well when more people are here with us, but presently Shital Mataji is with her father in hospital who is quite poorly. She just showed a picture that she's in hospital, so we can all, while we're reading, we can think of his well-being and in our own private time offer some prayers for father's well-being.
Apurva Shakti.
Apurva Shakti. Oh, sorry, yeah, Apurva Shakti, yeah. Otherwise known as Shito, aka.
Murli Prabhu, Nimai Mata want to ask you something, but she's a bit shy.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. Prabhu, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I want to.
Is this the place to ask that type of question? But go on.
Yeah, it is. It is not a question, Prabhu. It's a request. If everybody likes to Mother Chandravali, if I go to my WhatsApp again, I will.
Speaking. Okay, those are watching the recording. We have paused the recording and we've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but we're just answering some questions. Yeah, where was we? So yeah, as it's not as if something's going wrong when we come to terms, when we're coming to terms with our lacking in devotion. Now, it's a different story if we're not following the basic principles of Krishna consciousness and we're willingly making offenses, then that's then that's a different story. But if we're trying our best to avoid offenses and we're trying our best to follow Krishna consciousness, then when we become aware of the higher stages, it's not that we're doing something wrong. It means we're doing something right. And also this verse, which is from the Shishastakam, there's another verse in the Bhagavatam which often comes up, is Yam Asam Saram. It's, this verse which describes unless one's heart changes, less tears come from the eyes, one's heart is said to be amsham, said to be made of steel. You know that verse? You might know of it. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that it's not one of the evidences of making advancement is that one has developed a detachment from sense gratification. So he doesn't focus on the point just because every time you chant, tears don't come from the eyes. But he says, actually he says, I've just read it recently, it may be seen that even in very advanced devotees, tears may not come from the eyes when they chant. And it may be seen that someone who is not a devotee or a very beginner may be crying tears. And then Prabhupada confirms that actually the real evidence of advancement and making progress is that one is detached from sense gratification.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. One's following the regulative principles. Yeah. And they have a sense of, they are moving within the regulative principles of bhakti, and they've got a detachment from gross materialistic or from sense gratification. So that's kind of sheds a bit more light on it as well. And also, it's also, I think I mentioned this before, it's also that I want to ask my Guru Maharaj this question as well, because it seems like advanced devotees like Srila Prabhupada and our respective spiritual masters who are very advanced, it's not as if they're crying all the time. You know, back to True Swami Maharaj wasn't crying all the time, and my Guru Maharaj is not crying all the time, and Jai Pataka Maharaj is not crying all the time. Because how can one run a movement if one is always overcome with the ecstasy above of crying? You know, so it's not exactly like 24/7. But it is a fact that when these devotees will meditate upon the Lord, they will get quite, because they're on the level of Bhava and beyond, then they will experience great ecstasies. But another intriguing or interesting point about Vaishnava culture is that Vaishnavas will hide such things as well. So if they are feeling emotion, then they will do everything they can to suppress those emotions, definitely when they're in public. Yeah, definitely. I think Maya Guru Maharaj once gave a podcast. Once someone asked a question. When you're singing bhajans and you become really ecstatic, how can you stop crying if you're in public? So my Guru Maharaj gave a whole podcast on subduing ecstasy and basically taking it within, swallowing it and keeping it within. And he said that the ecstasy becomes stronger. I mean, I don't really have that problem so much. But anyway, I think I'm going off the point a bit, but I'm just trying to elaborate more on this. When will tears flow from my eyes constantly when I chant your holy name? I mean, devotees, when that is happening, they generally will be quite shy about it. Prabhupada one time, you know, when he was chanting Jaya Radha Madhav, that to a great ecstasy, and he stopped chanting, and tears were flowing from his eyes, and the whole mood of the temple room got surcharged in a Vaikuntha-like state of divine ecstasy. Everyone was feeling what Prabhupada was feeling to some degree, and it all went silent. You know, these are hundreds of people in the room watching Prabhupada in a silence that must have seemed like it lasts forever. Then finally, Prabhupada came out. And then afterwards, one of his servants asked him a question. They were brave enough to ask the question. Prabhupada, what should we do when you go into ecstasy? And then Prabhupada, like a young boy, was kind of very shy about what had happened. His mood was very kind of, if I remember, he's very, I did that. And he was very, he wasn't showy about it. He was very, as a pure-hearted soul, he was kind of quite shy about that, being overwhelmed with that ecstasy. Then he said, and he went quiet, he said, then you should just chant. So he gave the answer. Yeah. So anyway, we've gone off the track a little bit.
Actually, I was listening today. I listened to 3 classes today. So in one of them, it said, like, as you advancing, you'll find lots of black junk coming out from your heart.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah,
you are making progress because it's there, which you would not otherwise realize it. It's coming out. Then you got to work with it, you know.
Yeah. Has anyone ever, I guess you all have, sometimes you embark on a big cleaning project? We done. Me and Nishin Gavachapu, we volunteered to clean the Didi kitchen in New York. The kitchen is half the size of our kitchen, really, if you believe. You've seen the size of their kitchen. mean, our kitchen's small. In our
Oh,
Pachadi, their kitchen is half the size.
God.
Oh, Krishna.
And we started, my God, when we started cleaning, we found so much grunge and so much dirt. It was unbelievable. But it wasn't self-evident when you just look in the kitchen. But when you start cleaning, then it becomes evident of how dirty it is. So it's the same in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So it can come, it can be quite, sometimes devotees can get quite, it can be quite, makes devotees very serious and grave sometimes, you know, when they contemplate our conditioned nature. That's good.
Mm.
But also we need the association of devotees. That's why we need kirtan, we need festivals, you know, because that's where we cannot, you know, we can be enthusiastic even though some monsters are getting revealed in the heart. We carry on with our devotional service, so we carry on associating devotees, and everything becomes very blissful. So we don't get too
Saying
depressed.
the festivals are the gate for purifications.
Yeah, festivals are for purifying our heart.
Yeah,
thing-
that's a gate.
Yeah,
The thing is, it's easy to clean what is big, but when you go to details, it's a lot more harder and it takes a long time. Urmila Mataji was saying in one of the lectures, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we think we're gonna purify quick, but then we think we purify in one day, in one month, in 1 year. Then we realize that we are the life in, and nothing yet happened. It is happening slowly, because there are little details.
So therefore, we have to be patient as well. This is what Rupa Goswami instructs, isn't it? To be successful in devotion, we have to be patient. Utsahan nishtayat hayat. Yeah, one has to be patient. And Krishna is very kind. He can bestow upon us great bliss in just a few seconds, which could carry us for years, which upon reflecting on that special mercy can give us happiness for years to come. Yes, Krishna can show, he can just give us he can show his grace and mercy, you know, anytime. And it normally comes in the most unexpected time as well. Yeah. So we shouldn't forget Krishna's always there, and Krishna's always going to be encouraging us. You know, when we need it, Krishna will encourage us, but it may not be obvious that he's doing it, but he will do. Sometimes it will be, sometimes it may come in an indirect way, but Krishna is there with us, you know, protecting us and guiding us. You know. All right. Let's because the chapter we're describing is all about special mercy, and that's what we all want, isn't it? Kripa.
Yeah.
So let's read a bit about that. Yeah. Kripa. 751. We're continuing. Let's look here. Who's here? Oh, Chandravali has the book. I can begin reading and then. But yeah, interesting discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, Sita Wallaby sent it yesterday and she wanted me to ask you. I didn't see it till this afternoon. And then I thought you would have prepared your class for today. So I thought we'll just ask. I asked Nita Mata to just ask.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. All right, so let's we said the prayers to Prabhupada. We're recording, and so we've done that. So okay. Now I'm reading from 751. This chapter, just remind everyone, and this is the last 3 or 4 chapters of the Sankalpa Kaumudi, and this is about Kripa. Means grace. Sankalpas according to grace. This is the first chapter, 37. Okay, in the last 3 chapters. All right. Now that the final Sankalpa has been disclosed, the overarching question becomes how to obtain bhava. Okay. So bhava, as we know by now, it's a ray of prema, And it's at a stage of bhava that we're aspiring for as sadhakas, and that will take us to Bhoma Vrindavan, where that bhava will further manifest into different degrees of prema. Okay, so Rupa Goswami says there's the 3 stages of bhakti. It's called Vaidhi, Bhava, Prema. Right? So how to obtain the goal of our sadhana. Rupa Goswami says that it is rarely, all right, listen. Rupa Goswami says that it is rarely attained. Oh God. And Sukadev Goswami says Krishna is reluctant to give it. Jiva Goswami explains how this love, bhava, is accomplished. He says, by Krishna's mercy alone. Right? So how to inspire Krishna to give that mercy? Answer, in short. Firstly, a devotee must give himself completely to the expert practice of sadhana. So that's what we're teaching in this book. That's what Maharaj is teaching us, how to make our sadhana expert. Secondly, he must be able to cry in separation and pray eagerly to be engaged in confidential service, just like this prayer that we shared by Narottam Das Thakur. Yeah. Krishna is a person, and if he sees that a sadhaka wants him more than anything and everything else, he reciprocates and bestows his mercy. That is the way. And ecstatic devotion can appear in 2 ways. In response to the sincere sadhaka mentioned, so by practice, this is called, what is called? Sadhana siddha. So those who obtain perfection through sadhana. And without the prerequisite of sadhana, out of an act of causeless mercy. So Mother Yamuneshwari, she gave her last class she gave. I reflected on it after, and I wish I had asked a question. But her class was all about kripa. Kripa, 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 kripa. So my question, which I thought of after, can you explain the role of sadhana? Because as Maharaj says here, so there's kripa, and then there's sadhana. So of these 2, our attention is on sadhana, because that's the standard way bhava appears, the latter being a very rare exception. Okay. Now, my Guru Maharaj has commented on this, and it's interesting because when we read about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially because our class was about Panchatattva, so it was a nice class she gave. It was all about the mercy of Panchatattva. You know, you read about Lord Chaitanya embraced someone, they went into ecstasy, and you know, it's just transmitted very easily just by the darshan of Lord Chaitanya and the mercy of Panchatattva. One immediately becomes overwhelmed with love of God. I'm sure we've all read many such statements. Now, my Guru Maharaj mentioned something interesting, that that exceptional grace was available prominently in the presence of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his actual presence. It's a bit different now, as we may have noticed in ourselves, you know. Our way, like it's a bit, it's there and it's available, but it's available through following the writings and direction of the 6 Goswamis, which is the process that we have now as given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, applying ourselves to chanting and spreading the mission according to our ability, and engaging in devotional service and going through the different stages. That's the mercy by which we will obtain bhava. It's not as we shouldn't. So, am I making sense here? It's an interesting point that we, you know, that we don't just wait for kripa and don't do anything else. Anyway, I'm
I
going.
kind of break it down in my head. Is like sadhana, we have to make endeavor.
Yeah.
Sadhana.
Yeah.
And then mercy will come.
Yeah. And that's what Raj says here. He says, just carrying, it should be made clear, however, that in both cases, the grace of the Lord is essential. And Mother Chandravali, you brought up this last week. But don't we need Kripa to even chant Hare Krishna? Yeah, we do. The difference is that in one case, grace is sincerely solicited and well earned. And in the other, it is neither. In glorifying Krishna, King Muchukunda explains that the awakening of true devotion takes place by the grace of devotees' association. And there's a verse, just quote here, quote, when the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, O Achyuta, he may attain the association of your devotees. And when he associates with them, there awakens in him devotion unto you, who are the goal of devotees and the Lord of all causes and their efforts, unquote. The above verse reverses a sequence of events for the sake of emphasis. Actually, it is devotee association that terminates material entanglement, and not the unqualified cessation of fruitive life that culminates in the company of devotees. In any case, this good fortune is the marginal effect of saintly association, satsagamaha, the primary effect being that it awakens pure devotion. I got lost there, paragraph a bit. Let me read on, see if it can. As previously mentioned, different devotees will affect conditioned souls in different ways. A regular practitioner can give faith. A Bhava Bhakta his own power, and a Prema Bhakta any level of devotion. But the transfer of spiritual potency takes place through the power of saintly association. So Maharaj then he asks a question. But what does it mean to get the mercy by association of saints? How does that association transmit mercy? Okay. So he answers. In a description of causeless mercy, Rupa Goswami elaborates on 3 ways by which grace is bestowed. Yeah, this is in Nectar of Devotion as well. He writes, Prashada Vachikaloka Dana Hatatayo Hari. So Krishna's mercy manifests through the words of the Lord, in the presence of the Lord, or through the heart. Okay, the mercy of through the words of the Lord, his presence, or manifests from within the heart. The Acharya later adds that the same result also occurs from the mercy of the devotee. Okay. So the mercy of the devotee comes through their words, through their presence, or they can wish it upon you. Then it manifests in your heart. Yeah. And this is can be Diksha Guru, it could be Shiksha Guru, or it could be any Vaishnava. Yeah. Who's qualified to give you such, yeah. The Acharya later adds that the same result, we shall later show that there is no difference between the two, Krishna's mercy and his devotee's mercy. They are one and the same. Narada's perfection is an example of how a devotee is blessed by the words of Vaishnavas. So he's an example of a sadhana siddha who attained perfection through practice by following what he was taught. Yeah. Narada's perfection is an example of how a devotee is blessed by the words of Vaishnavas. Oh yeah. The sage is staying near his home will instruct a young boy to sit down and hear their talks about Krishna. That instruction to sit and hear and those transcendental discussions about the Lord's pastimes were the verbal form of the devotee's mercy, by which Narada attained taste, attachment, ecstasy, and love. Just remembering now, someone was telling me Radhanath Maharaj was giving class. You know, he you know, when he's always ecstatic, but this class, the class was specifically ecstatic, you know, all these wonderful descriptions of Gauranga Leela and the way he puts his mood and bhav into it. It captures your heart and imagination. And it was a wonderful class. It lasted about 2 hours. Then one devotee was quite affected by the class, and he came to Maharaj after. Oh, Maharaj, please give me your mercy. Please give me your mercy. And Maharaj said, "What do you mean? I just gave mercy for the last 2 hours. I just gave you my mercy for the last 2 hours." You get the point?
Yeah.
This is the way how mercy comes. You know. Yeah, we're hearing.
And being near such a devotee.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have that experience when we associate with advanced Vaishnavas. It has sometimes inexplicable, it has an effect upon us. Yeah, so elsewhere in the Narada, by which Narada attained taste, so ruchi, shakti, bhava, and prema. Elsewhere in the Narada Purana, Krishna tells Narada, "May you have undeviating bhava bhakta for me." So that's just through the words, yeah, just through blessings. A benediction like this, directly pronounced by the Lord, obviously becomes wonderful and immediate results. Krishna's presence through his direct appearance or through his deity form may also inspire bhava. Okay. And this is from Nectar Devotion as well. An example is the Gandharva girl Chandrakanti. Anyone know how she attained bhava, special mercy? Chandravali knows because she's got a book. She was, she saw the deity and she attained spontaneous ecstatic devotion, and she danced in abandon all night. She was dancing. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, dancing, 11 o'clock, dancing, 12 o'clock, dancing, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, dancing. You know, that example is given in the Nectar Devotion. It's from the Padma Purana. Jiva Goswami cites the verse beginning, Smarim Banga Traya, as another example of securing Krishna's mercy simply by seeing him. This Smaran Bangi Traya, that's that verse, I think. Don't go to the bank of the Yamuna at Keshigat. You know this verse where Krishna is standing in a threefold bending form in the full moon, whose beautiful eyes, lotus-like eyes, and playing his flute. Because if you do, you'll become detached from all your family, friends, etc. Sukadeva Goswami is the example of a devotee for whom bhava manifests within his heart. Okay, so because Krishna's in the heart. So if you don't have the association of bhaktas, or you don't get there, you know, then Krishna within the heart can bestow bhava, can bestow bliss, can bestow, yeah. Also, Maharaj will probably mention it, can come from the holy name as well, obviously, yeah. Yeah, Jiva Goswami explains that because Sukadev had neither heard nor seen the Lord or his devotees, his advanced devotion must have arisen from within himself. Okay, please, if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free. Yeah, interesting.
Prabhu.
Yes, please.
I want to ask you, Prabhu. Yeah, hearing is the best. At the same time, whatever we hear, at least we have to try, because we can't do anything by then the mercy comes. If we try to put that to action, then the mercy comes. Is that right, Prabhu?
Yeah, that's the thing. We should try. That's what we can do. The instructions that we give or that we are told, we should follow. And of course, we should follow to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
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 Krishna, was it God helps those who, and what comes next?
Who help themselves. Who help
Yeah,
themselves.
God helps those who help themselves. That's quite a significant
Themselves.
statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they say God gives food. Bird should fly for it.
Oh yeah, it gives food to Prabhupada
The
said that there
bird
was a
starts to fly.
morning. Yeah, Prabhupada was on a morning walk, and someone was
Mm.
feeding ducks in a park. Classic thing
Yes.
in a lake, and the duck that quacked the loudest, and the person was inclined to throw them the crumbs of bread. So he said, "Yes, he who quacks the loudest gets fed."
Mm.
An example of attaining bhava by the mercy of a devotee is seen in the transformation that took place in a hunter, Mugrari. We know that story, isn't it? Mugrari the hunter.
Mm.
By seeing and hearing Narad, by seeing and hearing him, he was transformed from a cruel hunter of animals to a fully accomplished Vaishnava. In answer to the question regarding the mercy of great devotees, we reply. So Maharaj quotes it, mercy through the association of saints means being in their presence and receiving their instructions. So that's what it means, okay? Being in their presence and receiving their instructions. As a consequence of that answer, we draw the reader's attention to the following train of thought and its significant conclusion. Okay. For 12 years of his preaching pastimes, Srila Prabhupada was personally visible. And in that time, he repeatedly assured his followers that by offenseless Nam Sankirtan, they would attain perfection. Additionally, for all time to come, his divine grace left his teachings primarily in the form of his transcendental writings and secondarily in his recorded words. We may conclude that by his words and presence, Srila Prabhupada gave the blessings by which his direct disciples could obtain bhava, and by those same instructions, succeeding generations of followers not initiated by him could also attain the same result. With the blessings of bhava, devotees could attain Krishna's pastimes and with further purification return to the spiritual world. To summarize, a devotee will be able to attain bhava from a qualified spiritual master, or alternately through Srila Prabhupada's books, followers, and presence. So it can come from a number of ways. Yeah. It goes without saying that Srila Prabhupada expected his followers to work for mercy. He was not giving it unconditionally. Okay. Lord Chaitanya, in his personal presence, was given it unconditionally. He expected his followers to put his teachings to work for themselves and to serve Lord Chaitanya's mission by giving his teachings to others. When one of his sannyasis asked how they would know their Siddha Deha after his departure, Srila Prabhupada replied, "When you are ready, I will come and reveal it to you." Okay, unquote. We should make it abundantly clear that Srila Prabhupada's posthumous blessings for a sadhaka to attain bhava does not mean that anyone other than his directly initiated disciples are or can be initiated by him. All right, so Ritvik, okay. Devotees must be properly initiated by a guru who is physically present. That is the law of bhakti. Krishna himself describes the results of seeing and hearing an empowered devotee like Srila Prabhupada, or even being cursed by him, with the example of two sons of Kuvera. After freeing Nala Kuvera and Manigriva from their confinement in the form of trees, Krishna said, quote, "When one is face to face with the sun, there is no longer darkness for one's eyes. Similarly, when one is face to face with a sadhu, a devotee who is fully determined and surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will no longer be subject to material bondage. Unquote. By the grace of Narada, the two demigods were endowed with Krishna's darshan, and they attained not only ecstatic devotion, but loving devotion to the Lord. Such is the spiritual influence of great devotees like Narada and Srila Prabhupada, immeasurable. Hare Krishna. That finishes a little section there. Any reflections on that? What we read there? Any questions or comments? So if someone asks you how to obtain the mercy of a, what does it mean to obtain the mercy of a Vaishnava? What's the answer?
Listen to him, to his instructions.
Yeah, correct. And and also in their physical presence to listen to the instructions. That's the mercy.
And to
Just
serve.
Yeah.
Just like I gave the example of Radhanath Maharaj, who was given 2 hours of mercy. And the devotee came up afterwards asking for some mercy. Yeah. Anyway, this is just the beginning of this discussion on Kripa. There's like 3 chapters dedicated to it, and it's really wonderful, you know. So we're going to cover quite a lot in this regard. Yes. Anyone else? Otherwise, we can continue reading. Just looking at how many pages in this chapter. Oh, it's quite a few. All right. It's one subject the devotees are really interested in, isn't it? It's mercy.
Yeah.
It's good because we do realize that we need mercy, isn't it? That we need the association of devotees, you know, of senior devotees. We actually need their association. And more, perhaps just more importantly, could we say, is to hear from them. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So continuing. I just finished the reading Shalom Mother Chandravali. It's only, we got 10 minutes yet. My voice is okay, so I can continue reading.
No, Kevin, because I got throat funny noise.
Okay. So who's with us today? Who's Shital, Nitai Mata, Chamavati, Gayatri, Chandravali? Only a few of us here. So the others are missing it. Hope they can listen to the recording. We have explained that either Krishna's mercy or a devotee's mercy is needed to rise from sadhana to bhava. Okay. To the reader, it must be clear by now that to invoke the blessings of our well-wishers, not any kind of sadhana will do. Okay. Sadhana must be expertly accomplished with a clear conception of its goal. Earlier chapters showed that while devotee sadhana may at first be general, at varanadas, that's the stage of acceptance, okay, it assumes a conceptual form at smarandas. So smarandas, we spoke about that, the different levels or different degrees of meditation upon Krishna's name and absorption in Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Yeah, that's called smaran. His practices become increasingly exacting. Bhaktivinoda Thakur warns that carelessness in attempting to reach ever elusive bhava may consign a devotee to many lifetimes of effort. Oh my God. All right, to read that again. Bhaktivinoda Thakur warns that carelessness in attempting to reach ever elusive bhava may consign a devotee to many lifetimes of effort. Quote. He says, quote, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the ascension from the level of samadhi in smaran das to apanadas. So apanadas means perfection. That means you go back to Godhead. Yeah. Is a delicate one. For a practitioner who is not expert, elevation through the 5 stages of smarandas to apanadas may require many yugas. For a dexterous sadhaka, it is accomplished very quickly. All right. Everyone's okay with that?
Well, tough.
Oh,
Well, let's read
I-
on.
I was thinking, Prabhu, this must be the
Mm.
reason in Birmingham. I heard before COVID, that is when I really, my brain started to work, being honest, little bit, not all. My Guru Maharaj said, don't, if you're not serious enough to go back to Godhead, don't take initiation. It went like, oh.
Yeah.
And now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also saying, confirm. I thought, oh my God, I literally was seeing stars when I heard that.
Yeah. So it goes in different, because Maharaj was quoting Srila Prabhupada's grace, the books he's left us with, and Prabhupada's blessings as well. So that's there. But it does mean we have to play a role. Yeah. This is what being emphasized here. Yeah. Correct. So, unquote. Our purpose in this chapter is to show the rationale that a sadhaka takes in clarifying the path of his sadhana. We have amply emphasized that sadhana is not just about chanting Hare Krishna, but about chanting Hare Krishna with a clear conception of the process by which it is done, the mood which is done, and the goal for which it is done. Okay, so we discussed that, these points. So then Maharaj asks a question: how does the devotee chart his path? So he answers. In answering this question, our concentration will primarily be on the transition from dhyana to samadhi. 1 second, I wrote this down. Remember, we have discussed this a few times. It's one of those subjects I find quite interesting. It's the different levels. And I did a presentation one time on a Zoom thing, how to improve our chanting, and I focused on the levels of smaran. By hearing about this, we can be inspired. So smaran's a stage, but within smaran, it's divided into 5 subsections, of which the first one happens to be called smaran. So we have smaran, which means general recollection. Then dharana means you're able to absorb yourself for some time at least. Then dhyana, what you absorb yourself in, you go deeper in meditation upon that. Then there's anushmriti, which means that meditation, just like when you pour honey and it's in and it's uninterrupted from the jar, just flows. So your meditation just flows. It's just sweet. It just flows, and it's not interrupted. And that leads to trance, otherwise known as samadhi. So Maharaj mentioned. Sorry?
We read all this.
Yeah, that should be that was all mentioned before.
Yeah.
So in answering this question, our concentration will primarily be on the transition from dhyana, so meditation, to samadhi, which means absorbed, which correlate to development of taste and attachment. All right, so dhyana correlates to ruchi and attachment. Yeah, I was thinking the other day, we have all these, which are good, which are wonderful. We have these japa retreats and, how to improve your chanting, so many different books. This is all relevant if you don't have taste. But if you have taste, there's no need to read any books. Because you have taste, you will naturally chant with attention, and you will naturally chant as much as you'll be absorbed in chanting if we have a taste. But if we don't have taste, then we need all these japa, we need all these, which we do. We need how to improve it, sit up straight, breathe now. Satyananda Maharaj instructs the physical posture, then try to say prayers before you chant and all of that. These things can invoke taste. You get the point. If someone has taste, then they no need to attain a japa workshop, attend a japa workshop, unless they will go because it's a good excuse to chant more japa, to get a few days off and chant japa. Anyway, going off on tangent, quick, get back. It may be, sorry?
For newcomers.
Yeah, for newcomers, yeah. Japa retreats and things like that. They're absolutely essential and good. Yeah. It may be noted that this study will relate to sadhana bhakti in which spontaneity, raga, is partially, if not fully manifest. All right. So a partial manifestation of natural attraction. Yeah. And as mentioned, our main emphasis is not so much on the actual mechanics of practice already described in earlier chapters, as it is on the directional sankalpas that a devotee striving for ragatmaka must make. So ragatmaka is the devotion of the rajrasis, okay? That's ragatmaka bhakti, the resonance of Vrindavan. In other words, we shall point out to both the regulated and spontaneous practitioners the choices that lead to Raganuga sadhana for Krishna. Right. Specifically in the mood of Madhurya Rasa. All right, so it's going to get, Mari's going to be very specific here. Take us on a wonderful journey. So how regulated and spontaneous practitioners, the choices that lead to Raganuga sadhana for Krishna, specifically in the mood of Madhurya Rasa. We begin with an overview of Smaran sadhana. All right. Okay. Krishna explains how material consciousness abandons its temporal nature and displays spiritual characteristics in proportion to a sadhaka's sincere efforts. In other words, sadhana bhakti infused with Krishna's mercy transforms matter into spirit. Yeah, that was mentioned early on. A sadhaka's spiritual realization. I spoke quite elaborately on that. So now there's a verse. So he quotes, quote, when a diseased eye is treated with a medicinal ointment, it gradually recovers its power to see. Similarly, as a conscious living entity cleanses himself of material contamination by hearing and chanting the pious narrations of my glories, he regains his ability to see me, the absolute truth, in my subtle spiritual form. Okay. Unquote. So gradually recovers. Yeah, it's gradually recovers. So the careful application of this verse requires ideal conditions on the part of the sadhaka as he passes through the stages of smaran to the doorstep of apana. Again, apana is acceptance. It means going back to Godhead, basically. The following are some such considerations. In the verses beginning with Trinadapi Sunechena, Anadanam Najanam Nasundarim, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lays down a devotee's external conduct for Nam Bhajan. Okay. Trinadapi Sunechena, Nadanam Najanam. We all know what those verses mean, so no need to elaborate. A practitioner must offer respect to everyone, be a humble servant of his spiritual master, and feel remorse for his fallen condition. Okay. Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered everyone to preach and become guru, even if one adopts such a risky service, as a sadhaka, he must shun recognition and worship and see disciples as his spiritual masters. Okay. In cultivating bhava seva, and specifically, what's coming next? What's the, when we say bhava seva, what does that mean?
It's about towards the taste, yeah?
No. Bhava seva is another word for the certain mood that we chant in or we do our service.
Loving.
No?
Emotion.
Yeah, but what specific type of emotion? Huh?
Separation.
Yes,
Humble state
separation.
of mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Separation. So Baba say,
Humble state of mind.
yeah, but separation. Yeah. In cultivating Bhava Seva and specifically Ripalamba Seva. So that's right, cultivating a humble state of mind. But Maharaj mentions that that's external conduct as well. But a practitioner's sole means of deliverance and secure is the holy name. As he becomes mature in Nam Bhajan, so chanting Hare Krishna, a devotee feels ever increasing joy in chanting, especially after attaining raga. And Thakur Bhaktivinoda says that the bliss of chanting leads to a sense of possessiveness in which the sadhaka thinks the holy name is mine. Yeah, there's also a symptom of, as one verse is looking at today, it's also a symptom of prema, this sense of possessiveness, Krishna is mine. That sense of ownership or connection with the Maha Mantra further results in an increasing sense of attachment to Krishna's name, which naturally leads to attachment to Krishna, the two being non-different. All right, let's just read this last paragraph here. Because attachment to Krishna and those things related to him arise from a purification effected by external practice, a Shakti cultivated through Smarandas may be called an external imposition of bhava. Upon the exercise of divine will in the combined form of Haladini and Samvit potencies, pure love within the heart becomes free of all material coverings and is able to manifest itself without hindrance. That attainment is Bhava Panadas, so the state of Bhava. And like a person who has been sick for many months and must again learn to walk and fend for himself, the liberated soul at Bhava will once again learn to develop and express his unfettered, loving propensities. Wow. Okay. Hari Om. That's it. I hope we could understand as much as we can of that. Wonderful. All right. Okay, everyone. That's quite a lot to digest. A lot to digest in there.
This
But
is good. This is good. Soon
yeah,
after Gaur
wonderful.
Purnima.
Yeah. All right, let's pause here then. It's just gone 7, and please join us next week and we'll continue delve into this realm of kripa, of mercy. And
Thank
yeah,
you,
we have Bhagavad Gita as well. Please join us if you can, okay? Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare